What's going on, everybody? My name is Corey Bennett. I'm an academic partner with the National Academy of Sports Medicine, and I'm coming to you today to do a review and study guide of the NASM Certified Personal Trainer exam, as well as a couple other pieces of information for other certifications and specializations that you can go for. As an academic partner, I'm required to have all of the different certifications that NASM provides, including the corrective exercise specialization, performance enhancement, certified nutrition coach, as well as many others that I'm trying to be able to help you get some better information about how you should be preparing for these exams and how you can best succeed on when you're sitting down to take the certification exam, to get your certification and start practicing as a personal trainer or in any other realm for physical fitness. All right. For the CPT exam, a couple of things that I just want to start with is just starting with the price point. I think that's probably the most important thing to know when you're comparing different certifications that are out there. And NASM, for what they give you, is pretty cost effective. And there's a lot of other benefits that come along with that. And I'll explain that later on. So, the first thing for you need to know is that the certification price does fluctuate throughout the year. So, there are different times where they will offer a percentage off on the certification material in order to best help you get involved with the program. Right now, the going rate for the program is anywhere between $549 to $599 that you'd be spending on your certification bundle. So that would include a textbooks. They give you a full-length textbook of the personal fitness trainer guidelines. And this isn't for the faint of heart. This is like an actual academic textbook that you would find in a college class. So it's going to take you a handful of weeks, probably 5 to 10 weeks, for you to be able to get through this on your own if you're doing this by yourself. The more that you purchase, the more it's going to be, the more expensive it's going to be. So there are things like a guided program where you can have an in-person lecture and practical activities and whatnot. And you can see on their website, which I'll show you later on, what type of information is included there. With your package, you'll be getting access to online modules, which we'll run you through later on, as well as other information for best practices like quizzes, full-length practice exams, exercise demonstration videos, anything that can help you best succeed on the exam itself. So before we get into like the pros and cons of the certification altogether, let's talk about some of the main things that you will definitely need to review for preparing for this exam. So for those who are unaware of what NASM has to provide with the personal training certification itself, is the National Academy of Sports Medicine has put together their own model for how you can approach program design for any type of client. It's called the OPT model, or the Optimal Performance Training Model. All right. So what this model is a 3-phase approach with 5 different tiers into it. And depending on what certification you get, there may be a 6th tier, which is kind of like for the more advanced client. But the 3 phases are the stabilization phase, the strength phase, and then the power phase. So stabilization itself, phase 1, tier 1, it's only one tier. Okay. So we're looking for stabilization endurance. This is where you're going to be developing your foundation for fitness and ensuring that you can then start to progress on doing more intense, more volume, higher weight repetitions if you're doing resistance training. Start working towards that strength endeavor. Okay. The next level up is phase 2, and then there are 3 tiers within the strength phase. So there is strength endurance, hypertrophy, and then maximal strength. Okay. And all of those should be pretty much self explanatory as you hear them. You're probably going to be doing a lot of resistance training in this phase. Strength endurance is going to be helping you develop your foundation for strength itself. Hypertrophy, if you don't know what hypertrophy is the development of muscle size for growth. And then you'd be going on to maximal strength, which is developing higher levels of strength for being able to lift or move higher masses of weight. Okay. So that would be the full strength phase altogether. So phase 2 moving into phase 3. Phase 3 has tier number 5. Tier number 5 is the power phase. So this is maximal power. We're trying to take clients and then make them perform more athletic style movements with very, very fast tempo as quickly as possible. All right. So these are going to be very powerful movements, forceful movements where you be doing them as quickly as possible. So maybe there may not be the heaviest weight that's being produced, but the most power that your muscle force can produce itself. All right. So that's just a general overview of the OPT model itself. The next couple things that are going to be most important, I'll run through a quick little list here, is the planes of movement. So in kinesiology, the study of human movement, we have three basic planes of motion that we want to focus on. There's the sagittal plane, which is moving forward to backwards. There is the frontal plane, which is side to side movement. And then there's the transverse plane, which is like twisting rotational movements. Okay. You'll need to know those more in depth. That's the basic understanding of what those planes of motion are. You'll need to know movement terminology: flexion, extension, abduction, adduction. These are all terms that are being used when we're trying to explain movements to clients and to colleagues when we're trying to educate how exercises should be performed. So as a personal trainer, somebody who's trying to be able to communicate correctly with a client, you're definitely going to need to know all the different types of movement terminology. All right, so make sure that that's a big area that you study, because that's definitely going to be something that you'll find on the questions that'll be in the exam. This should be very basic for anybody. So if you don't have an exercise science background in terms of formal education or college, you're definitely going to need to know muscular anatomy. Okay. Knowing the difference between muscles like the quadriceps and the hamstrings, the biceps and the triceps, the pectorals and the latissimus. These are all muscles that are going to be very primary. And those are just a couple. There are so many different muscles around the body that you're going to need to know that require you to understand how they work to perform certain movements. Okay. So you're not just going to learn what the muscles are, but you're going to learn what they do, what their actions are, how they make your body move in space. Okay. So definitely make sure that that's an area, because anatomy is always going to be a key for you in your practice as a personal trainer. Next, muscle imbalances. Okay. So maybe not so much for the certified personal trainer exam, but for understanding corrective exercise and what your clients may be experiencing with muscle imbalances, you're going to need to understand what the difference between an overactive and an underactive muscle is, how it may be considered tight or weak. Okay. These are going to be things that you're going to want to learn in order to understand how your clients are moving and how you as a personal trainer can help benefit that person in the long run. The next is assessments. So I believe chapter 6 in this textbook, unless it's been updated recently, is going to be all based around fitness assessments. A couple notable ones that are going to be key assessments for you to understand and know how to interpret are the overhead squat assessment, the single leg squat assessment, and then also the static posture assessment. These are all assessments that are really key for you in understanding how to evaluate how somebody moves in order to ensure that you can see how that might affect exercises that you might program for them. You'll also need to know about the flexibility continuum, okay? How your body needs to react in order to get more flexible, all right? Different techniques that come with the flexibility continuum. So make sure that that's something that you also focus on as well. You'll definitely need to know the acute variables of training. The acute variables are things like sets, reps, rest time, total volume, what type of equipment's being used, how fast the tempo is of the movement that you're doing. Those are just a couple of acute variables of notable mention. Okay, you'll definitely need to study that very rigorously, because those are all pieces of exercise program design that are critical for you to be successful as a personal trainer. Okay. Now, nutrition is always going to be a factor when we think of exercise and being successful in our goals. All right. You may hear the term success in physical fitness is 80% in the kitchen and 20% in the weight room. That percentage fluctuates and whatnot. And I'm not going to say that that's an end all be all percentage or anything like that. But the truth of the matter is that nutrition is a component. All right. There is one chapter out of 20 or more chapters in this book that is all around nutrition. And here's the big reason why. Nutrition is not really within the scope of practice of a personal trainer unless you hold further education in terms of a formal college degree or certifications that can give you the ability to speak on the topics of nutrition. It won't be able to give you any type of information of how to prescribe nutrition for somebody, because that's not the goal of this certification. The goal of a personal training cert is to be able to get you to prescribe physical activity in the form of exercise. Okay. So that's just one big key I want you to know, is that there may be a couple questions about nutrition on there, but for the most part, you can breeze through the chapter, know basics of like macronutrients, carbs, fats, and proteins, a little bit about vitamins and minerals, know what their functions are in the body, and then you should be successful on passing that part of the exam. Again, if you're somebody who's interested in this, NASM has a really awesome nutrition coaching certification that'll help you expand on your understanding of nutrition beyond the single chapter that's provided in the CPT exam. All right. And then the last part that I would highly recommend is focusing on behavior change. All right. There is a component in the book called the behavior change, and it talks about this model called the trans theoretical model of change. Okay. So in this model, there are different phases that you might find a client in their pursuit of wanting to become either more fit or more healthy or well-rounded in terms of their physical activity levels. So a couple things that you might need to know. The phases start as pre-contemplation, contemplation, preparation, action, and maintenance. It's 5 phases that you will see a client in at any point in their endeavors for pursuing physical activity. All right. So, for example, somebody in pre contemplation stage, they may not even know that they want to or need to make a change happen. Okay. This might be somebody, for example, who might be experiencing like a chronic health condition, and their doctor just hasn't evaluated them yet to tell them, hey, you need to be more physically active in your life in order to make this chronic health condition either be managed or go away. All right. Somebody in contemplation stage, let's use that same example. They've been to the doctor. Let's say they have high blood pressure of some sort, and they say, your doctor says, you can get lower blood pressure by participating in more regular physical activity. Okay, now the seed has been planted for this person. Now they're starting to kind of mull it over and think about what it is that they need to do in order to get more physically active with the goal of lowering their blood pressure. Okay, that's just an example there. Preparation. So this is a person that has now they started thought it over. They're like, okay, now what do I need to do in order to make this change? Okay. So now they go from contemplating, all right, what do I need to do here? And now they start researching. Okay, where do I need to go? What gyms are good to go to? Where can I find a personal trainer? All of these different types of things play into the planning phase of this model. And then we go from planning to the person committing to action. All right. So the action stage is where the person is then initiating and then succeeding into participating in more physical activity. So in the realm of fitness and physical activity, we want them to be exercising, whether it's independently or with you as a trainer. Okay. After doing this for beyond 6 months to a year or more, this is where somebody enters the maintenance phase. So they're starting to maintain this as a lifestyle habit that they're going to continue on their own beyond your guidance, and hopefully independently as you can guide them into doing things on their own more regularly. Because the goal of being a personal trainer isn't just to keep clients, it's to keep teaching them something new so that they can take it and use it on their own. So those are the big areas. Again, I'll run through the list. So the OPT model, planes of movement, movement terminology, muscular anatomy, muscle imbalances, different types of fitness assessments, the flexibility continuum, acute variables of training for the OPT model, nutrition, very, very little, but brush through it. And then also the trans theoretical model for behavior change. Those are all the key areas for you to review in order to be successful on this exam. Now, I'm going to show you a little bit later on about the practice quizzes and the full length practice exams that are on there. Those things are going to be critical for you to do as well, because those are going to help give you an understanding of how the questions are structured in order to make sure that you know what you're looking for once you sit down for that exam for the first time. Okay. Now let's run into some of the pros and cons. Let's start with the cons. All right. The biggest thing is probably going to be the price. When you compare this certification price to any other certification around the country, you're probably going to see is one of the higher prices that you'll see. However, one of the things that I will say, and I can't say this because I'm biased, obviously, as an academic partner, but one thing that I know NASM provides that makes it very easier for the financial barrier for most people is that they allow you to jump into a payment plan with no interest, no credit cards or anything like that, that you can pay monthly into earning your certification. So that it's not as hard for you to be able to obtain the certification and learn the information along the way. When you enroll in a program, you'll see the link in my description to be able to go check out whatever programs are available. Those are going to be the ones that you're going to have to look at to figure out, okay, which ones can I afford and which ones can I buy into or do a payment plan through. All right. So that's one of the biggest cons, but again, flips into a pro because you can make a payment plan into getting that. Another con, and this is kind of tying it back to nutrition, the biggest thing is that the nutrition section is very small. And you will see this in all other certifications as well. There is not one personal training certification that probably has more than just one single chapter about nutrition. And I think that's important because, again, like I said, the scope of practice for a personal trainer is not nutrition, it's physical activity. And that's what you need to be focusing on for this. But although it is a con for the personal training cert, NASM provides that additional outlet for you to become a certified nutrition coach in order to expand that education beyond that. So that you can better speak about nutrition with your clients. Okay. So those are the two big cons that I can make right now. Before I go on to the pros, let's show you what the portal looks like. Okay. So you should now see my browser, and I'm on the NASM.org website. And I'm going to go ahead and log in. So if you wanted to check out the other bundles, you can go to become a personal trainer, enroll in a program, and you just click on that. You'll be able to do that just by clicking the link in my description. Again, like I said, it'll bring you right there so you can see all the different products that you can get for personal training and other certs as well. I'm going to log in real quick. This might take a second. There's my email if you need to get a hold of me. All right, I'm going to go to my account. So in my account is going to be all of the different courses that I have taken. And we're going to focus specifically on personal training. So obviously you can see for the different certifications, they'll give you either the exam here or you may have to schedule at a testing center. For the personal training cert, you have to schedule at a private testing center because it is something that is highly accredited and needs to be done at a third-party testing site where they know you won't be cheating, obviously. So my content's expired, but what you will see when I log into this, it's pretty slow, is that the CPT has 10 different modules. So these blue bars here are all of the different modules that you can see with all of the different content pieces that you'll need. So ideally, it's set up as 10 modules because you'll be finishing this in 10 weeks. And that's most ideal, but you have the option to expand that out as long as you need to. I believe you're given either 120 to 150 days to complete all of the information and sit for your exam before everything expires. And if it does expire, you should be able to just contact NASM support and they'll be able to re-up you if you were just on the edge of setting up your exam and you were finishing all this content. But let's open up one of these modules and see what is in here so that you can see what's available. So let's use human movement assessments. So you'll see a couple things pop up. You'll get chapter 6, which is the same chapter 6 that's from the textbook. It's just a digital copy for you to have. I think they really value the fact that there's different types of learners with digital learners and then physical learners with a textbook, which is why they give that to you as an option. So you have the full chapter. You have a chapter review, which is like a study guide for the individual chapter. I think this is really awesome to do after you go through all the information so that you can kind of like rehash all the different things. You have lecture videos. So these are videos that complement the chapter that you are reading so that you can understand the main concepts that go with that chapter. So like for human movement assessments in this module 2, it's probably going to be a whole bunch of videos about how to perform the assessments and making sure that you understand how they're performed, how to interpret them, how to observe them, and how to record them for each client. This one, because it's about assessments, they provide you with assessment templates. So these are printouts that you can write off so that when you are actually practicing, you don't have to create this stuff from scratch. They provide it for you so that you can do this with your clients once you are up and running as a personal trainer. So that's for the read and watch section. In practice, you have an assessments activity. So this is going to be like a series of either questions or quizzes or interactive like games for some regard that will help test your knowledge on different assessments. And then there's going to be discussion questions. So this is a series of discussions that many people who have taken the certification exam before have participated in. So you can see what other questions that people that are in your same shoes have been asking about the content in that chapter. And then in the remember section, this is probably my favorite part of the entire set of modules, is that you get module quizzes that are about 20 questions, and then you get module flashcards that go with the quizzes to help you test your knowledge and retain the information. So each module, so we'll jump down to module 3, each module has something like this available for each piece of content. And I think that's really important because they really hone in on the learning experience for you as a student of personal training. Module 5 is considered the midterm. So this midterm is a full-length exam for the first 5 or for the first 4 modules that you will be able to test your understanding and see how well you do moving forward into the next 5 modules. Okay. Once you go down to module 10, you will see practice exam 1, 2, and then course exam. These are 3 full-length 100 question exams that you can do that will very similarly mimic the exam that you are going to sit for to take your certification. Now, the questions are not verbatim, so don't expect that. It's not going to be a cheat for you to be able to just memorize these questions and go do it. But what I will say is that the content is going to be very similar. So the way that the questions are structured, what you are looking for in terms of the study material is pretty much going to be consistent. So you may see the same percentage of content covered on these exams that you would on the actual exam itself. So that's really important when you go into module number 10. So this is obviously all a sneak peek, but as you go through this, you'll figure it out for yourself as well. This personal training resources is pretty exceptional because it has the full exercise video library and then cueing video library for complex exercises that you may have a hard time understanding how to deliver to a client. And then the last piece, and this is probably my favorite piece here, is the NASM study guide. So it's a 6-step piece or 6 domains that will show you what percentage. So like basic and applied sciences, it shows you the chapters, it shows you what percent of the exam it's going to be, and then it gives you a study guide and then a domain quiz. So this is just more quizzes on top of the practice exams and practice quizzes that you've been given to help you get better. And I can almost guarantee that if you do well on all these quizzes and you do well in the practice exams and the practice quizzes in each module, you are going to set yourself up for such success when you sit down for this exam that you're going to surprise yourself in how much you know. Okay. At the bottom of this, you'll see PSI scheduling. So like I said, since the CPT is an accredited certification, this is going to require you to take it at a third-party testing site. So you'll use PSI scheduling to find out where the nearest location is to you to sit down for your exam and take the course. So once you go through that, you'll get your test results back immediately. Whoever the test moderator is will be able to provide you with the printout. It's immediately pass fail. I believe the lowest, I think the lowest value that you can get on the certification itself is a 75, 70 or 75. So it's not that low. But it's also not that high either. So it makes it pretty, you need 70 questions out of 100 to be able to pass. So that should be it for the most part. The end of course, here's some test taking tips, end of course survey, and then again, the PSI scheduling link if you need that again. This end of course survey is really important because it helps NASM improve the experience of the learner. So if there was something in particular that you really enjoyed, this is a good place to provide that feedback. And then also if there's something that you really did not agree with, or if you found some sort of like error or conflicting information based on what you are educated in, this is a good place to provide that so that NASM can make the improvements that are needed to better serve future students, to make the field in the fitness industry of personal training the highest quality that it can provide. So these are all things just to take into consideration. I'm going to stop this share real quick. And obviously I had a really, really good time doing this, but the point of it is that I wanted to make sure that there was something to provide to the greater good of people trying to become fitness professionals, because the world of the fitness industry is so skewed with all of this faulty information and the world of like social media influencers and like, are these people certified? Like, why is this guy telling me to take this supplement? Is he qualified to do so? What makes this exercise for this person better than another? It's it's so polluted right now. And I think polluted is a good word because there's a lot of good stuff out there, but pollution is garbage, and there's a lot of garbage out there. And I really want to make sure that you're picking a good certification that'll help you become a part of the greater side of the fitness industry that's trying to do best work for the public in making sure that they are living well and healthy and optimized lifestyles. Okay. So I want to close on the pros and cons, and that'll be the end of this video. So the biggest thing, the pros that I want to put out there, the pros are going to be number one, that online portal that you get. The modules are like no other learning environment that I had to participate in. When I was doing academic classes online in college, it definitely wasn't the same experience. I think this gives a really good learning experience because they went into such detail, providing videos and practice quizzes and all the different things that you need to be successful on the exam. The other piece that's really cool, again, it was a con before, but it's a pro now, is the fact that even though it's an expensive price tag on the certification itself, that you can do monthly payments or a payment plan depending on whatever your financial situation is. I think that's really cool. Also, another pro, and this is, again, I'll openly admit I'm biased again, but NASM has a really good reputation for being one of the leaders in fitness and personal training certifications and education. So just something to consider, that when you're looking to apply to gyms, most gyms are going to be looking for certifications probably from NASM or other competitors that are related. So just some things to consider so that you can understand what you're getting yourself into prior. Now, before you pay for anything, make sure you're doing your research. Look for all the other certifications. Make sure that the other certifications that you are comparing this to are NCCA accredited. Okay. NCC accreditation is like the umbrella organization that certifies all agencies to provide a licensure, a certification, professional skills for people to practice in all different types of fields, but especially in the fitness field because it's so complex with the way that we work with individuals. So make sure that you're checking for that NCCA accreditation if you're going to plan to go somewhere else other than NASM. Okay. If you have any other questions about this exam, please put them in the comments below to this video. If you felt this was helpful, excuse me, provide a thumbs up to this. Give me a like on this video. If there was something that you felt was critical, provide that feedback to me because I want to make sure that I'm providing the best information that I can as an affiliate and an ambassador of this organization to make sure that we can do the best work that we can as fitness professionals. So without further ado, good luck with pursuing your personal training endeavors. Good luck with studying for all the material. Make sure that you're moving well and living happy and moving optimally. All right. Take care, everyone. And again, leave me some information below if you have any comments to provide.